EFL confirm league and Carabao Cup fixtures will continue to be played. The EFL have confirmed that its fixtures in the league and the Carabao Cup will continue to be played where it is safe to do so. Although the EFL acknowledged that further postponements of fixtures are likely due to an increase in COVID-19 cases, there is confidence that disruption can be minimized via a daily testing regime and the ongoing vaccination rollout. EFL Chief Executive Trevor Birch said, "Throughout the pandemic, our two priorities have been ensuring the welfare of those involved in EFL competitions and ensuring the fixture schedule can continue where it is safe to do so. We will continue to work with clubs, authorities and other agencies to monitor the COVID-19 case rate and be prepared to respond accordingly, yet for now the view remains that we can continue to deliver games safely where clubs have sufficient healthy personnel in place, on and off the pitch." With club mitigation measures, the mass adoption of booster jabs, and COVID certification now required for larger crowds, we are sure many fans will continue to feel confident in attending matches over the Christmas period and we look forward to welcoming them. On Tuesday, Arsenal will face Sunderland in the Carabao Cup, while there are three other quarter-finals scheduled for Wednesday night: Brentford v Chelsea, Liverpool v Leicester and Tottenham v West Ham. The EFL program of league fixtures was heavily disrupted by coronavirus cases last weekend, with a host of games being called off in the Championship, League One and League Two as the Omicron variant continues to have an impact. However, the EFL are following in the footsteps of the Premier League, who announced today that they will continue to play games over the festive period, having rejected the idea of postponing a round of fixtures. As a result of positive COVID-19 cases, 2 Championship games and 5 League Two games which were due to be played on Boxing Day have been postponed. The FA will scrap replays for the third and fourth round of the FA Cup this season in a bid to reduce fixture congestion. Arsenal Mikel Arteta revealed Arsenal had been forced to close their London Colney training ground after reporting a few cases among players and staff following their 2-0 victory over West Ham United. Defender Pablo Mari and midfielder Albert Sambi-Lokonga were among those to test positive and therefore missed a win at Leeds. Forced to postpone Premier League clash with Burnley on December 18 just 2 hours before kick-off after an increased amount of positive COVID-19 test results within their playing squad. Brentford: The Bees have 13 cases among players and staff. The club are now calling for a circuit breaker shutdown to help clubs recover. Their training ground has been closed, and as a result their trip to Southampton on Saturday has been postponed. Would have been without several players for Tottenham's visit on Thursday due to COVID before the game was postponed, despite initial calls being rejected hours before kick-off. Their training ground was closed on Thursday morning to contain the outbreak, but given they have an insufficient number of players available, their weekend trip to Everton is also off. Case numbers are currently unknown but a large outbreak saw their game with Brentford postponed. Calls to have Saturday's game with Brighton to be postponed were accepted on Thursday, and it has emerged that United would have had only 7 available players for that game, such as the impact of the outbreak. Their training complex is closed until Tuesday at least, in order to reduce the risk of transmission. Had a request for Wednesday's game with Wolves to be postponed rejected by the Premier League following an outbreak at the club. Graham Potter confirmed there were 3 to 4 positive cases before the game, which they lost 1-0. Saturday's game with Manchester United has now been postponed. Manager Dean Smith was facing an anxious wait to discover the full extent of the outbreak at the club. Josh Sargent, Lucas Rupp and Pierre-Elise Melu were absent from the squad that faced Aston Villa in midweek for COVID-related reasons, but while Christos Tsalis is the only confirmed player to test positive, more positive test results have been returned. The Canaries had discussions with the Premier League over Saturday's clash with West Ham, and it was agreed to postpone as they have an insufficient number of players available. Saw their midweek game with Burnley postponed just hours before kick-off. With their training ground closed, their home match with Crystal Palace has now been confirmed as postponed too. Case numbers are currently unknown, but they do not sufficient players to fulfill the Palace match. Spurs were the first Premier League club to be hit by the Omicron variant last week and saw games against Brighton and Rennes postponed after cases reached double digits among players and staff. Those who tested positive for the virus are expected to return in the next couple of days after completing their 10-day self-isolation period. Spurs' clash with Leicester on Thursday was postponed despite initial demands to have the game called off were rejected, but Sunday's clash with Liverpool is due to go ahead. After Brentford, The Blues became the latest club to be hit by a COVID outbreak after it was confirmed ahead of their game with Everton that 4 more first-team players had tested positive. Mateo Kovacic was the first Chelsea player to get the virus in the outbreak this week, with Romelu Lukaku, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Timo Werner and Ben Chilwell following. Nevertheless, their game with Everton went ahead and was drawn. Despite recording 7 positive COVID cases, the Blues saw a request for their trip to Wolves rejected, and Tuchel fumed at the decision to allow the game, which ended 0-0, to go ahead on Sunday. Liverpool. It was confirmed just an hour before kick-off against Newcastle on Thursday night that Fabinho, Curtis Jones and Virgil van Dijk were all out, having tested positive for COVID. Midfielder Thiago also tested positive for COVID before Sunday's trip to Spurs, and Jurgen Klopp said it is not possible for the Reds to continue playing if more players fall ill.